Because there is no physical form out there. It's in here. That's where it all goes on. And this movement of energy fields is where we get confused, and it's where the decoding mechanism makes us think that very strange things are going on.
You got that?
Well, that's not what's happening. As we talked about in the first half, the only place that the physical reptilian form and the physical human form exist is in here.
You got that?
Hey, come on, folks. Every key person in the Bush administration and now in this next administration just so happen to be the sons and daughters of the founders of Israel and Mossad chiefs and people, and they're openly not even really U.S. citizens, and they openly are at the head of the table in anti-gun operations in the U.S.
It's impossible. I don't believe it.
Then I was talking to another insider who'd multiple times been around a bunch of Masons, and how they would just talk so much trash about me when George Washington, the Mason, would literally spit on you. I mean, I'm not saying all Masons are evil. I'm not saying all branches of it go back to something bad. I know the real history of it. I've forgotten more about Masonry than most Masons know. It's all right there in the history books. I've had a lot of family that were high-level Masons. I don't hide that fact. I've had a lot of family that were high-level Masons. I don't hide that fact. And you know what they told my dad? You know what they told me? Don't ever be a Mason when you get asked. Don't ever be part of it. Is that understood? I've had family that have been 33rd degree Masons, 33rd degree Masons. What do you think they discovered? I've got family on both sides involved in the founding of Texas. Lone Star State, you think I know about Masons? You know how many family aprons I've got in storage, or my dad does?
You know, Mark.
And at that point, they, who have covertly created the problem and blame someone else, who glean that reaction of do something, then offer the solution to the problems they have created.
Problem, reaction, solution. Problem, reaction, solution. Problem, reaction, solution.
Carl Sagan, who was kind of a mainstream man in so many ways, he wrote this book, The Dragons of Eden, about the reptilian connection to humanity and human genetics. And he says in there, was the effect to understand the human's reptilian characteristics is to understand so much about human behavior. Quite right.
And I'd really never heard his show because I didn't listen to a lot of shortwave. I was busy. But I've seen his book. It was all about flying saucers. So
there's so much fear-mongering about the economy in World War III. How can so many people be so sound asleep, helping keep the blood for oil flowing? This whole time hemp fuel would make all poisonous forms of energy obsolete? Alex Jones sells Thrive on InfoWars, and Clear Compass Media, who made Thrive, censored my Thrive Exposed videos.
Some guy called me on the phone the other day. Called me on the phone the other day. Wanted to know what I thought about this book that David Icke has written called The Greatest Secret, or The World's Biggest Secret, something like that. I don't remember the exact name. I've got it in there. Several people sent me a copy. In fact, I've got 3 or 4 copies. I said, are you kidding? He said, no. He said, I read the book and it scared me. I said, why did it scare you? Well, there's people that aren't human. Oh, really? How many of you out there read that book and actually really believe that Queen Elizabeth goes down in the subterranean cavern under her palace there and practices occult rituals where she actually turns into a big lizard? Because I'm going to tell you right now, if you believe that, you need to be locked up. You need to be locked up. David Icke is a liar. is a liar. This is the biggest bullshit book that's ever been written. I can show you whole passages in that book that are verbatim, word for word, plagiarism from the books and writings and speeches and talks and radio broadcasts and videotapes of many other people, including me. He just collects tons of stuff from everywhere. He doesn't even care if it fits together or not, and he just plagiarizes it all and writes this big thing, and everybody all over the world buys this stupid book that claims that our freedoms are being taken away by lizard alien dudes that occupy human bodies, and in their ceremonies and occult rituals, they actually change back into these lizard men from the planet Pupa or whatever. You guys are brain dead. Brain dead stupid. Your father for the art bells of the world, to keep you running around chasing your tail, looking for Mothmen hanging upside down from trees in the middle of the night. And by engaging in those kinds of things, the real people who are taking our freedoms away are in no danger from you. Oh no! No danger at all.
Popular right now.
Who's that?
This man by the last name of Sitchin.
Go with the flow. But when you die, you've got spiritual price you have to pay because you sold out, kind of thing. He didn't say that, but that's what I gathered. That whoever your spiritual companions are in the universe sent you here not to sell out. And so he said, so just think about it. It'll come one day. That's it. And so he used to show up every now and then. He would show up at lectures of mine. I would see him. He called himself Cosmos. And I said, what is your real name? He says, not important. Just call me Cosmos. He was always very, very kind, very courteous, very generous with me. And he would pop up all the time. Anytime I was speaking in San Francisco, he'd pop up. And one day, quite a few years ago, I was in San Francisco giving a lecture, and a lady was buying a tape or a book from me at my table, and the book fell on the floor. And I couldn't go around the table to pick it up for her, but Cosmos was standing next to her. So he leaned down to pick it up for her. And when he did, a medallion fell out of his hippie shirt. And the moment I saw it, I knew what it was. It was a brilliantly designed double-headed eagle, Masonic double-headed eagle, with a triangle of a red, probably ruby. It was about that size, but it had a triangle ruby with 33 embedded on it, cut on the ruby. And it was sitting on top of the double-headed eagle of Freemasonry. And when I saw that, for the first time I reached out and grabbed it because it was along a long chain. And I said, 33rd degree Mason? And he said, no, Council of 33. Meaning he's not just a 33rd degree Mason, he's on the Council of 33. In Washington, D.C., there are 33 men that run World Masonry. And it's called the Council of 33. And he's on it. And I said to him, I said, Cosmos, were you a 33rd degree when you talked with me a few years ago in Palm Springs? He said, yes. And I said, I don't understand what's going on here. And he said to me, Jordan, you go all around the world talking about political leaders, talking about the Queen of England. You badmouth the Pope, you badmouth people, you jumping on everybody and doing what you're doing. Has anyone ever harmed you? I said, no. Has anybody tried to arrest you or to frighten you or do anything to you? I said, no. And he said, have you ever wondered why? And I said, I've never thought about it. He said, no one has harmed you because of us. We are protecting you. We follow you everywhere you go. We know what you're doing. And we're protecting you. The Council of the 33 is protecting you. And I said, I really don't understand this. And he said, you don't need to. All you need to know is that we are protecting you. We know exactly who you are and what you're doing and where you go, and no one's going to harm you. That is a task we've been given to protect you. I thought, wow. And then Dr. Shires, it's my Masonic papers later on. That hasn't happened, what he said, hasn't happened yet. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised if it does maybe in the future, if things really start to get big, you know, and more people are hearing, and it gets to be big somewhere along the line, because I had an FBI agent back in the late 90s, an FBI agent called me from San Diego. I was in Los Angeles. And this guy called me from San Diego, and he said, he gave me his name, special agent, somebody from San Diego. And I said, just hold on. I said, I'll call you back. And I hung up. So I called information in San Diego and got FBI's phone number. I called that number and I asked for him, and he comes on the phone. So now I know he is FBI. So I said, okay, now talk to me. And he said, I'm calling you as a social call. It's not business. I just want you to know that the people who work in the FBI, the working class people, we know who you are and what you're doing, and we like what you're doing. We don't have any problem with what you're doing. Many of the people in the FBI like what you're saying. And right now, he said, I just want to let you know your government does not see you as a threat.
You could stand back and say, we are fighting against these evil right-wing Americans. When in reality, again, the creature that laid the eggs in us is sitting right over there in Europe. You understand this, folks? You understand this? And so it points at us. The system, the beast system, points at America and goes, look at that beetle. It's spinning all over the place and going crazy and biting everyone. And then when they're done with us, the brood hatches out, total global domination, total enslavement of you and your family. And you'll have just, I mean, Bush is energizing the phony left wing. They're hatching out everywhere. They're going to totally take over. And don't think these leftists are going to care when you're getting drugged off to a camp, having your guns taken. They're going to be cheating, going, finally the UN came to America and stopped this fascist takeover. It feels so good. It feels so good. Finally the UN came to America and stopped this fascist takeover. It feels so good. It feels so good. Shut up! Shut up! We love the UN! We love the UN! We love the UN! We love the UN!
And they'll use the UN up too. They said, fine, the UN isn't popular, we'll start some new global organization. Well, NATO's now global, and it's going to be in Israel and Afghanistan and Iraq and North Korea when we take that over.
And it works like this.
Problem, reaction, solution. Problem, reaction, solution. Problem, reaction, solution. Problem, reaction, solution.
We're fighting a push by a scientifically crafted dictatorship that is sworn to dehumanize you and your family.
Yeah, I think you're right. That there's some higher force. Well, I know there's a higher force. I know that there's a higher matrix of power. That I know. And I know it's protecting me and others. And I know it has its own agenda. These things I already know for sure.
As the voice was telling me things, I saw pictures of obviously being projected. And there was one where I walked out on a stage and there was an audience. I just saw the front of the audience here. And this voice said, you only speak words to keep the mind happy, basically to keep the left brain happy. And as this voice was saying this, I saw two women in the front row of this scene that had been projected to me. And I'd walked out in the front of the stage and I just stood there and just said nothing, silence. And after a while, this one woman nudges the other one like that and goes, basically, what's he doing? And the voice, so funny when it was said, because it came out of nowhere. The voice said, "You only speak because if you did not, the audience would be asking, when the fuck is he going to start?"
No! So in summation, Project Camelot, a series of interviews, there's a great many of them, and all you need is a few arguments.
And at that point, they, who have covertly created the problem and blame someone else, who glean that reaction of do something, then offer the solution to the problems they have created.
Problem, reaction, solution. Problem, reaction, solution. Problem, reaction, solution.
What kind of man are you?
Have you ever thought about how people regard you, or what kind of legacy you want to leave?
Do people say good things about you? Is being the best person you can be something you value highly?
We believe in honour, morality, virtue, charity.
It is our values that help us focus on how we treat the world.
We believe we are good men, but there is always room for improvement.
Our rituals teach us to be the best we can be. As Freemasons, this is something we are passionate about.
Our craft has been in existence for hundreds of years, and there is a good reason for this.
Because good men like to keep the company of other good men.
So what do you stand for?
What do you believe in? What company do you want to keep?
Now, did you just say that you are Lucifer?
I am Lucifer.
Okay, define Lucifer for me.
Pure, virtuous, wholesome, innocent individual that's out to help people.
Lucifer is?
Yeah.
Say that again. Lucifer is a pure, holy...
Virtuous.
Virtuous. Now, is he the Lucifer that God created?
That's the same one.
Oh, man, this is great. I'm going to put this on the internet.
Oh,
Amen.
God bless you,
Amen.
brother.
Because that's exactly what the Shriners and Masons teach, is that Lucifer is light.
No.
And you're
what about
confirming
those hospitals?
You got that?